Finally, it's taken shape, and the Central Bank of Nigeria has commenced full implementation. But in your own words, what does it aim to achieve?
Well, I think the FSS 2020 has three cardinal objectives. One is to turn the Nigerian financial system into catalyst for economic development of the country. The second factor is to turn Nigeria into a financial center, into a financial services center, global financial services center, like you have in New York, like you have in London. And then the third factor is for the for Nigerian economy to be among the 20 top economies in the world by 2020. Those are the three primary cardinal points, or the three cardinal points that FSS 2020 is designed to achieve. One, act as a catalyst for the financial services industry to act as catalyst for economic development of the country, instead of just supporting or acting as service providers to the economy. They are to catalyze the economy. And what that means is that they are to support the segments of the economy that are growing very fast, or that will stimulate the growth of those sectors of the economy. For instance, the SMEs. They have to design a structure that will handhold the SMEs to develop. And the SMEs will be the strongest engine of growth for the economy. Then you look at turning Nigeria into a financial center. It then means that, given the position of Nigeria as a Nigerian economy and how huge the Nigerian economy is, for instance, if you look at the West African economy, Nigeria accounts for 70 to 80% of the economic activities in West Africa. If you take the GDP of Africa as 1 trillion, and Nigeria's current GDP about 273 billion, it simply means that the Nigerian economy is about 27% of the African economy. So what they want to do is to design the financial architecture, the financial services system, so that financial transactions in Africa will actually be consummated in Nigeria. Nigeria will act as the financial center for economic activities or financial activities within the African continent. That's the second objective. The third objective is to grow the Nigerian economy, for the financial services sector to support and catalyze the Nigerian economy to become one of the top 20 economies in the globe. When I looked at the current rating of Nigeria, we are somewhere around 30, number 30 in global ranking. So that means we have to grow and torpedo or overtake about 10 economies or 11 economies to be among the top 20 economies in the world by 2020. That is some 7 years away from now. And those are the primary objectives of the FSS 2020.
Now, I've had some critics say that it's very much similar to the Vision 2020, and that that they're not too confident in the model. I know the steering committee is a very large one. The CBN is made up of a host of institutions: CBN, Ministry of Finance, DMO. So many of them working, under the steering committee. And I'm being told that that in terms of achieving this goal, that it's perhaps too ambitious.
Well, you see, the Vision 2020 is all about Nigeria being among the top 20 economies in the world by 2020. Like I did say earlier, that will amount to displacing some economies that are already ahead of us. It simply means that we have to grow at a GDP growth rate that will make our economy to be bigger than about 11 economies that are several times bigger than us today. Take, for instance, the African continent. South Africa is one economy that is bigger than us. South African economy is about $368 billion. Today, we are about $274 billion. It's expected that by the time the Nigerian economy is rebased, that we should be somewhere around $350 billion. So slightly shy of the South African economy. The Nigerian economy is growing at the first quarter of this year, grew by about 6.56%. The South African economy is still growing about around 2%. So if we continue to grow at this rate, we certainly overtake South Africa after the rebasing. But what are the other economies that we intend to overtake? So the challenge is this: do we have the capacity to grow at such a rate as to become bigger than 11 economies that are currently bigger than us? And that's where those who have been criticizing the prospects of attaining that 2020. Perhaps as the first
step, what will be done? Because I know the full implementation, according to the CBN, has commenced. So in terms of impact and in terms of the first step to be taken, what is that going to be?
Well, if you look at what Central Bank is doing, one of the things they are doing is to minimize the cost of operation of the banking system. Right now, CBN is introducing shared services to market operators, to the banks. I know that CBN is working on a shared database storage system that the banks do not have to have their off-site storage facilities individually. They could actually share the benefit of storing their data in a central database that is managed by the central bank. That will drastically reduce the cost, because whenever you have your off-site location, you need to run generators in 4 hours. You need to have security men and several other infrastructural facilities that have cost elements to them. But if you have a shared resource, that will reduce your cost.
Okay, so they spend less, and does that mean that automatically mean that they have that frees up more cash for them to lend?
Yeah,
do we know that they will lend?
It frees up more cash to lend. It also lowers their service cost. What they are charging. Of course, Central Bank has said the banks should no longer charge more than 3 per mil. That's 3,000 naira per 1 million COT.
Okay.
So if the banks have lower operating costs, then the competition for providing services to customers will compel them to reduce their service cost, so that COT, interest rate, and all the rest. The interest rate we see is an aggregate of several costs. One, the rate cost of borrowing, which is cost of funds. Then they have to add the risk premium, but they also have to factor in the operating costs. So because they have to recover those operating costs. If the operating costs reduces, then the need to charge higher interest rate will also reduce. So by the time CBN succeeds in driving the banks to run at lower operating costs, then that will dovetail into lower service costs. And then lower service cost will lead to an improvement in the coverage that the CBN has been driving. You see, some people shy away from using banking services because of the cost associated with banking services. But if those services are cheaper, then the financial inclusiveness program of the central bank will be better enhanced.
Okay, so how? Because I know the capital market is also involved. It's also meant to help grow the capital market. How, in terms of impact, what kind of impact are we going to see on the capital market?
You see, the truth is that when you have a stable financial system, one of the things the central bank wants, they want the Nigerian financial system to be the fastest growing and most stable or secure of the emerging market financial systems. If you have a fast growing financial system or economy, and then it is supported by level of stability and security, I mean, the risk that your investment could be lost is highly minimized. Then Nigerian capital market will become attractive to even more attractive foreign investors. Today, the Nigerian market is attractive to foreign investors because of certain policies of the central bank. One of which is that they have